In my view, there's no greater authority on corruption in government and with the Biden crime family than Peter Schweizer. He's been on this show several times before. His great lists of books, profiles in corruption, secret empires, red-handed. Wow, what a book that is. And now, BloodMoney. I've been telling you on this show many, many times, China has declared war on the United States of America, and they are being helped in this war that they have declared on us by the current occupant of the White House because he is compromised by China through his son selling influence. Hence, you get balloons that fly overhead looking at our nuke sites. You get chaos in the streets. You got TikTok destroying the minds of our youth in this country. Mental warfare happening against Americans coming from Red China. Peter Schweizer is joining me on the Stevens Roofing Newsmaker Hotline, the author of the new #1 bestseller in the world, BloodMoney, Why the Powerful Turn a Blind Eye While China Kills Americans. Peter, Trey Ware here. It's great to have you back on the show. I appreciate your time this morning.
Trey, I always appreciate the conversations. Thanks so much for having me.
They're at war with us, aren't they?
Absolutely. And it's not just Peter Schweizer saying that or Trey Ware saying that. It's actually China itself. They adopted a doctrine in 2010 called Disintegration Warfare. And it's pretty ingenious. What it basically says, Trey, is that we're not going to go toe-to-toe with the United States. We are going to try to defeat the United States without going to war. And we're going to do that by exacerbating existing crises and tensions within the United States. It's not to say that they're causing our problems, but they're doing everything they can to magnify them. And the simple fact of the matter is you have a massive body count in America, whether it's fentanyl, whether it is the pandemic that we went through, but it's also violence in our streets. I mean, they're giving technologies to criminal gangs in the United States that turn ordinary handguns into machine guns. They've been smuggling these in since 2018, and all of this is carnage that is really helping to destabilize the United States, and it's part of their intention and part of their plan.
BloodMoney contains 939 endnotes. You got leaked documents in there from the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice, restricted Chinese military documents, and so on and so forth. In other words, you lay all this out. This is not just you speculating or trying to put 2 + 2 to come up with 16. You documented everything that's in this book.
Yeah, that's right. So Disintegration Warfare, we actually quote from the Chinese doctrine, from the Chinese book that was written. It's a book that all military officers in China are required to read. When it comes to these Glock switches, these devices that turn an ordinary Glock handgun into a machine gun, the fact that China has smuggled thousands of them into the United States, leading to this phenomenon we haven't seen since the 1930s, machine gun fire in the streets of America. That all comes from Homeland Security, Department of Justice leaked documents that lay out that China's doing it, the fact that it is being targeted to criminal gangs, and that these gangs now have this firepower. You can go on YouTube, unfortunately, and find videos. Just Google Glock switch police, and you will see videos of police driving down the street being targeted by this machine gun fire from gangs that are using these switches provided by China.
I want to ask you a question, Peter. Peter Schweizer is my guest. BloodMoney is the #1 book in the world right now. Get it, folks. Go on to Amazon or wherever you get your books and buy this book. This book will transform your thinking about the attacks and what you see happening in our country today, not only in the streets and the chaos and the crime and the fentanyl being the #1 killer of our youth, and we'll get into that some more here in a minute, but TikTok, social media TikTok, and how they are corrupting and destroying the minds of our children through TikTok. Talk about that, Peter.
Yeah, again, we got access to Chinese military journals and publications, and we're having this debate in this country about, is TikTok bad for us? Is it a security threat? There is no debate in China. They are explicit. Quote, a Chinese military officer saying that TikTok is the Trojan horse that is allowing them to reach America's youth. And then I quote extensively where they describe how they use TikTok. In other words, they appeal to emotion. By appealing to emotion, they capture the imagination of young people. They describe in detail about how you need to get young people, and you can use TikTok to get kids in the West to reject their historic memory, meaning their actually understanding of history, get them to no longer believe in their country, because that makes them open and susceptible to new values. And then you look at all the craziness online. There are large operations with Chinese military officers involving thousands of them. Each of them will control hundreds or thousands of social media accounts where they pose as Americans. So you're talking about hundreds of thousands, millions of accounts, social media accounts in the United States. They look like they're Americans, but half of them will say America's a racist society. The other half of them say, I only like white people. And they're doing this to exacerbate racial tensions in America, to make them a lot more flammable than they actually are. So I would say, one of the weird things, Trey, is that in a sense, I think you read this book, you're going to feel a little bit more optimistic, because you're going to realize we're not perhaps as divided as we think we are.
Right.
The flames are being fanned by China to give everyone the appearance that we're at each other's throats and, the end is about to come.
One of my friends, Wes Bunch, is the owner of Bridgehead IT, a big IT company here through Texas. And by the way, this show goes all across the country, so a lot of people are getting to hear this and hearing your voice right now. Last week we had AT&T go down, and they said it was a glitch in some software update. I'm really not believing any of this right now. And then we had the pharmacy cyber attack where people couldn't fulfill their prescriptions. When I talked to Wes over at Bridgehead IT, they do cybersecurity, and he said it's down to the minute-by-minute new attacks from China on businesses all across this country. The cyber threat is real, and the FBI director has said it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when our critical infrastructure like water and power is attacked by China.
Yeah, that's right. And again, this is part of the doctrine. They view social chaos and turmoil in the United States as beneficial to them. Chinese military doctrine emphasizes using trickery and secrecy to undermine your enemy. They call it watch the fire burn from across the river. I mean, in other words, you ignite a flame, fan a flame, but you're across the river. We had nothing to do with it. And in the cyberspace, that is absolutely part of the problem. In addition to the more direct approach that they take in Hollywood, where a lot of the big Hollywood studios, I name the directors and the producers, who have taken money to finance their films from China. But the agreement is China gets to influence the script. And some of the biggest blockbuster films that people have watched, some of them with their kids, Kung Fu Panda 3, actually are inculcated with propaganda from the CCP that was bought and paid for. And the Hollywood studios, at least some of them, seem happy and content to do it because it gives them access to the Chinese market. And they don't care that China is using this technique to influence our young people.
Just one more minute, Peter. I want to go through a couple of more of my notes here. BloodMoney is the name of the book. Mental warfare. We that's very clear that that's what they are engaging in right now. Let me ask you, though, because I have my thoughts. Was COVID a bioweapon unleashed by them on purpose?
We don't know. I think it was either a lab leak or a bioweapon. But what I point out in the book is two things. Number one, there were a series of things they did to maximize our body count. It was intentional. Once the virus came out, they intentionally engaged in activities to maximize the body count in the United States. One of the things they did, Trey, was they lied about the fact that it was transmittable from person to person. They knew it 2 months before they told the world. What do they do during that 2 months? They cornered the market on PPE supplies. These are the supplies that, doctors and critical responders use when they're treating people. And we had a massive shortage in this country. And that was because of China's strategy. And of course, ultimately, lots of people died in the medical community because they didn't have access to these basic masks. The second thing, though, I point out is there's a second equation to all of this, and that is that there are certain people in the United States who, for a variety of reasons, don't want to call China out on this. And I quote extensively from emails from Dr. Fauci and his colleagues where they are effectively covering up for China. They know what China's doing. They know that China's doing it, but their inclination entirely is always to protect China and their Chinese colleagues. even though it's leading to the death of Americans.
This is the whole Sun Tzu art of war, defeat the U.S. without ever firing a shot. Let's turn our attention to what's happening right now with the Biden crime family and Hunter Biden selling influence, money to China, millions of dollars, and as a result, in my view, we see balloon flying over our nuke sites, taking all kinds of pictures, and now we've seen an army of young men flooding across our southern border directly from China. And as you and I both know, Peter, you just don't get up and leave China one day. You're sent out of China.
Yes, and there's a huge problem with infiltration. I talk about that in the book. But if you look at the Bidens, I mean, the Bidens have taken tens of millions of dollars from Chinese entities. As I profile in BloodMoney, one of the reasons that Joe Biden is so quiet on China's involvement in fentanyl, and they are involved in every stage. This is not a Mexican cartel operation. This is a Chinese operation, from the money laundering to the precursors. There's 2,000 Chinese nationals on the border in Mexico helping the cartels create fentanyl. It's a Chinese operation. Joe Biden will not call them out, even though this is killing 100,000 Americans every year. And so the question is why? And what I point out in the book is the Bidens are connected. There's one degree of separation between those involved in the fentanyl trade and the Biden family. The guy in China who set up the Sinaloa cartel and made them the kings of fentanyl. There's a gang called UBG. It's headed by a guy, Zhang An Li, who goes by the name White Wolf. White Wolf had a business partner. That business partner gave the Bidens $5 million. This is all completely documented in the book. So the question is Joe Biden really want to have a conversation about China's involvement in the fentanyl trade? If he does, it will blow back directly to him and expose the fact that he has this financial relationship. So that's an example, I think, of the kind of policies that Joe Biden is not going to talk about, precisely because of the graft and the corruption that you were talking about.
Well, and not to mention the documents at the Penn Biden Center that China paid $1 million a year for so that they could go in and read that. And what I believe to be an operative who was put into place, what's her name, Kathy Chung, I believe, put into place to be an executive assistant to Joe Biden. He's corrupt as the day is long and owned, in my view, by China. Peter, I know you got a million of these things to do today. I can't tell you how much I appreciate, number one, your hard work and all of your books and all of your digging, and number two, your availability to me, because the people in this state appreciate you and appreciate what you've been doing to expose the corruption that's going on.
Well, thank you, Trey. God bless. We've got a wonderful, beautiful country that we all love, and it's worth fighting for. So
Amen.
Thank you for all you're doing.
Thank you, Peter. Have a great day. Blood Money. That's the name of the book. Pick it up and read it. Everybody needs the info. Back in a minute. Trey Ware, KTSA.
Hi, this is Bob Webster for my friends at